So welcome back to another episode of Sarver's RC. I've lost count on what part I'm going to label this as for the XRT build, but we're going to be throwing on the GPM steering linkage, steering assembly as they call it, as well as these Treal toe links, since they kind of go hand in hand with basically what you're unbolting. So we'll go ahead and get started on that. I did remove, you're going to start by removing the body clip mounts. I removed it on this side just so I'm not trying to work from here and switching the truck around while filming. So I went ahead and removed those on that side. I'll go ahead and finish the process on this side. So got two 2.5 millimeter bolts for those. And that is essentially going to allow you to remove this little cover here to access all of your bolts for your brace here. Go ahead and hand loosen these and then get the rest with the electric driver. So these are all 2.5 millimeters. Been debating if I also want to order up the Treal cover for this to replace this. Looks pretty trick. Just with the ESC plate I'm going to use, it's pretty much going to cover it up, so I haven't decided if it's worth it. Looks like there's one more 2.5 right here, but it's looks like a pretty sweet piece, all anodized aluminum. Alright, let's see if this just pulls out. It's kind of not looking like it wants to. I'm lost here. What's keeping it on? Huh. Doesn't look like there should be anything else. Could be wrong. See, maybe it's these bolts here. Certainly does not look like it. Loosen all these. Loosen these. Loosen these. This feels completely stout right here, though. Like a separate piece. Alright. I'm gonna step off and see what I'm doing wrong here. 1 second. Alright, so I haven't decided if this is more complicated than it seems or I'm overcomplicating it, but I think realistically if you remove this upper bulkhead cover, you should be able to disconnect it. I already had the bottom center section skid plate pulled off for you to be able to disconnect your drag link and whatnot. So what I basically did, and I've seen videos where they tear the whole front of the truck apart, and maybe that is the way to do it. We'll find out here in a second. I may scrap this video entirely. But so when I was under there, I disconnected the steering links from the bell crank assembly. But with getting this cover off, which sits under a lip here, so it's going to feel like you looked at it, you got all the screws off, and why won't it come out? Well, it's on a lip here. I loosened up some other screws. It gave it some flex and it finally popped out. So with that, I disconnected the connecting bar on the stock plastic one, and when I released the toe links from these two spots here, it essentially allowed me to take this apart in pieces. I'm hoping I can put it back together in pieces. So sorry I skipped over some of it, just sometimes you get stuck. But so for the most part it comes put together. You are going to press in a few bearings here. There are different sizes, so you should be able to figure out what fits what. Larger one is going to go in the bottom of these two pieces here. And the smaller bearings are going to sit in the two upper locations. Wouldn't be surprised if maybe your stock ones could be reused, but you might as well go with the brand new units here. So get those pressed in, get all your bearings pressed in. Small here, large here, which these tolerances are a little looser, so they may fall out on you while you're working on this. So we are going to remove at least one side. Okay, I'm just going to leave the bearings out if they're going to keep falling while we're screwing with this, but we are going to remove this linkage, and this is going to be a 2mm on the GPM compared to the 2.5 for stock. So there is a little nut on the back of this that you are going to want to keep track of and make sure that you don't lose. And I'm sure if you have heard a trick of, if you put some grease in there, I believe it was on Chris's P&W RC Madness, you did a brief install of this. Same thing, you try to keep them short, but at the same time you miss some steps and kind of leaves you guessing on what you really need to do to get this installed. And there is the little nut that fell out. You will not want to lose that. Okay, so at that point this will be removed. We'll see if I can get it back in there the same way I kind of got it out. Not sure if I'm hopeful of that or not. Does look like bearings are stuck on these posts. Kind of interested to see if it's the same size bearing. I think if I could just press these in, I think I might try to. Let's see. It does seem like the stock bearings will press onto that. To figure out getting this back in and holding the tiny little nut in the back. Should be interesting. I don't even know if I can get the grease trick on here at this point. We'll have to just try and get it have no idea, guys, if this is truly the way to do it, but it seems to be going in, so that's got to be a good sign, right? I have no idea how I'm gonna get this nut on here. I know I'm going to drop this and then it's going to be impossible to get out. So let me reevaluate this for a second, see about pulling this arm back out and possibly even throwing a piece of tape or something on it to where it will stick. So without having this thing completely tore apart, I can't reach it from the bottom either. Not sure where the bearing is falling out. I personally am going to put a very small piece of electrical tape, and again, there's probably a better way to do this where a lot of this would be easier if you rip more of the truck apart to get to it, but I'm gonna go this route. I've been working on this truck for 3 days straight now, or whatever it is, and we're ready to get a lot of this in and essentially be waiting for the couple parts that I still need. So let's see if this will work. Oh, got that on there. Should hold the nut in place. Get this toe link out of the way. Get this piece here pressed down onto the bearings. Alright, that's in. Get these pressed together. This bearing has a nut or thread pitched through it. Actually, go in the same way I did before. I got this one on the first time, put that one on the second time. Everything actually had lined up, so we're going to do the same. And why do these bearings keep wanting to come out? Not even sure what I'm hearing fall out at this point. A little grease on it. See if that helps it stick. Hopefully it does. All right. pressed on there. We got the tape holding the nut in, and we are going to see if we can't get this bell crank assembly in without tearing everything apart. And maybe, just maybe, we did. Being very gentle to not, I guess maybe now I can get my finger in there to at least hold it, to not push that nut out. Alright guys, so we successfully got the tie bar on. Everything seems to be functioning good here. Not going to bother putting the drag link on because we have the GPM unit. Forever when that perfect pass monster servo comes in, that's going to go in along with the billet horn there. So next we will do one of these tie rods, and that is going to be 2.5 as well. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and cut these Treal units open. Package inside a package inside a package. Normally I love opening parts, but getting a little tired of it at the moment. So let's see what we got here. And another package. So mainly what you're going to want to look at is the orientate or the type of joint. So this long oblong piece is going to be the one that goes on the outside here. So we will pop this unit out. Like I said, match these up. These are much shorter. And get that lined up. Snug it up by hand so you're not stripping anything out. And now you're going to be going into that GPM bell crank. Recommend putting a little thread locker on these because now you will be going into aluminum instead of plastic. I know these videos aren't going to be the most exciting, guys, but you know, hopefully it's informative to help you through your XRT build if you're wanting to do a lot of the same modifications to yours. And these go in and thread from the bottom just the way the factory did. And you're gonna lift the truck up and go in from the bottom here. Snug those up. And if you weren't going to do an aftermarket servo, you could very much just connect this drag link and you would be essentially ready to roll. But for the sake of not wanting to do it again, or I guess I could leave the top cover off and have it ready to go. But boom, pop that out. Put these into the Treal packaging that I just pulled the aluminum ones out of. Keep all this stuff. Way if you ever break something, bend something, and you're wanting to run immediately, you can throw your stocks back in and be back to running. These look super cool. Like I said, green, the green and the oranges and whatnot are the ones that are hard to match with anodizing, and that doesn't look like the right screw. It's not. Screw I just put on there. Treal green is one of the greens that I can honestly say is closest to the Traxxas green. And I love to add more green to it, but a lot of the companies you see, GPM, Vitavon, and whatnot, the green just doesn't match. And some people don't care, but I don't like when it all starts looking like different hues if I can stay away from it. So again, a little thread locker on the ones going into the bell crank. You might take it out of your line of sight for a second, but you got to be able to get to lining this up. Always a pain with ball joints. I find they just always give me trouble. So I can do this later. All right, guys. So there you have it. You know, usually I like to do one little install at a time. Super OCD about keeping my workbench clean, keeping parts with screws set everywhere to where everything just goes back together smoothly, and I don't feel like I'm living in clutter or have stuff everywhere. But with this project, with so many parts ordered at once to kind of do a build all at once, and with leaving certain things off and new parts coming with new hardware and everything else, I got crap everywhere. So I had to jump off camera, lost a screw and a sea of screws to get that toe link all put back together. So I'm going to end it off here because, like I said, I have the servo coming in. And the last thing I want to do is get all this stuff back together and figure out that I actually need to access some of this again. So I'll give you a quick little look of how that all turned out. Got the GPM bell crank assembly in there, all hooked up. Actually worked the janky way that I assembled it. Those Treal toe links on both sides looking good, matching the green on the XRT. There's the look of kind of what we have going. Blue, green, green, blue, green, green, blue. So got that color pattern going. As always, guys, please like, comment, and subscribe. Next up should be the servo if it comes in, or the wire care products to finish off the motor. But I want to get this all wrapped up and all the wires ran to the receiver. That way I can box it back up, and essentially at that point the ESC mount that I have is a plate that goes over the top and will sit down on top of your linkage or your receiver cover. So I want to get everything wired before I bolt all that down and call this build done, hopefully. I also got the GPM bash bar at some point. So thank you, guys.